Seeing none, the next applicant is Patrick Flanagan, who is applying for seats 1 and 9. Mr. Flanagan, good morning and welcome to the Rules Committee.
Good morning, thank you very much. So I'm supposed to give my...
This gives you a brief opportunity to simply explain, say a little bit about your application, a little bit about your background, and what you would like to accomplish if you were appointed.
Okay. Well, I've worked very closely with Jeff Buckley from the SRO Collaborative.
Mr. Buckley, good morning. Welcome to Rules.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Buckley. I'm the Director of Community Organizing with the Tenderloin Housing Clinic. I oversee the Central City SRO Collaborative.
Good morning, Chairman Campos, Supervisor Aleo here, and Supervisor Marr. My name is Thomas Piccarello. I'm an SRO tenant for the past 2 years. Previously, I sat on the City Shelter Monitoring Committee. And before that, I practiced law for about 18 years, representing landlords and tenants. For the last 12 months, I've worked with the SRO Task Force as a member of the public. If I am seated on the SRO Task Force, I would like to see the city enact standards of habitability for all SROs in the city, which are in excess of 500. In addition, as you know, SRO tenants have presumably the same legal rights as tenants that live in the Marina, the Mission, and the Richmond. But for some reason, the city policies make it not so. I'll give you 2 examples. Your visitor policy. You restrict the visitors that SRO tenants can have. Forgetting the legalities of that, there shouldn't be that distinction. SRO tenants should be allowed to have the same visitors and guests as tenants that live in the Richmond or the Mission or the Marina. And secondly, a very powerful weapon that tenants have when hotels are not habitable or withholding rent. But at least as to city-funded hotels, that's not possible because tenants receive 2-party checks. The checks are in their name as well as the name of the hotel operators. So there's not that legal remedy for tenants when they are living in hotels that are not habitable. And finally, I think there needs to be a discussion about the relationship with the SRO collaboratives and the owners that they work for. The obvious example is THC. The Central City SRO collaboratives, in my mind, have a conflict of interest because they're being paid by owners and operators of hotels that they're supposed to oversee. So I would encourage the city not to fund collaboratives that are also part and parcel of operators of city hotels. Any questions?
Just so that I understand what you're saying, so you don't want to fund organizations like the Mission SRO Collaborative, is that what you're saying?
Well, if the Mission, I'm not sure about the situation of the Mission SRO Collaborative, but if those members are paid by an entity that also manages and operates hotels, yes, I would not want to see city funding to that collaborative. Specifically, the Central City SRO Collaborative is part and parcel of THC. THC owns or at least manages and operates hotels. I don't think that the Central City SRO then can be fair and objective in terms of their role as representing tenants of those hotels.
Thank you.
Mr. Piccarello had served on the Shelter Monitoring Committee for a number of years, and the legal experience and other perspectives would be really valuable And I know Mr. Pitts has been before us also with expressing kind of interest in advocating on a number of different issues. But I would just like to say that I support Patrick Flanagan. I think he brings experience as an organizer. He talked directly about some of the conditions in the Rose Hotel and helping to build a tenant council, which I think is significant at 6th and Mission and in other SRO hotels. I think he would bring that kind of perspective as a tenant for seat 9. So I'm leaning towards Mr. Flanagan.
Okay, so that's a motion, seconded. I actually wanted to again thank all of the applicants. I want to thank certainly Mr. Pitts, who has been before us before, and Mr. Piccarello for coming forward. I do think the legal background would be very useful. I have to say, though, that just based on the presentation today, I thought that Mr. Flanagan's presentation, at least for me, really resonated and stood out. And I can definitely see how he would be a voice for those residents, not that the other applicants wouldn't, but I think that based on that, I think that probably makes a lot of sense. I appreciate the fact that it doesn't seem like you're afraid to call it as you see it and to, in a respectful way, advocate for other residents. So if we can take that motion without objection. Thank you.
10 months later, at the when Patrick Flanagan was appointed, he tended to be kind of absent, unexcused absence, and there was a removal proceeding because of his absences. And here is the conversation around that. And he was unanimously removed from the task force.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Dan Jordan. I'm a resident in an SRO hotel here in San Francisco and have been since 1996. I also now work for the Central City SRO Collaborative as a housing peer counselor. In my position, we work with the people that live in these SRO hotels on a daily basis. We help them solve their problems if it means having to call in city agencies to do so, like Department of Building Inspection, Department of Public Health.
Homelessness, and that led into the SROs. So for me, I believe I'm connected with several people / agencies. I know some of the people in the Department of Human Services. I'm connected with people from the Mental Health Association. I know several people on the local homeless coordinating board and the shelter monitoring committee, and I think that's part of the start. So I have a working understanding of these things, and I have attended the SRO task force meetings off and on for the past maybe 2 to 3 years. So I know them, they know me. I've been very vocal about ideas and philosophies as how we could make the SROs better. I did want to show you some of the pictures that I took when I was staying in some of the SROs. I just feel like we have a dire need to be a little bit more aggressive in just having these buildings clean, up to code, and free of illegal activities. So I just feel that like we need to do more. We're moving in that step. I believe we hired the city and county of San Francisco hired maybe 7 new inspectors, and I understand there was a protest of which I did attend regarding the elevators. So I'm in support of good elevators in the buildings, and I think that part of it is we need to understand like what's going to be needed with that. I feel like we're going to need specialized inspectors for that. I've just been in the mix because we've had a major problem with bed bugs, and they worked on policy and procedure regarding that. The Senior Action Network did, and I think part of what I want to do is start to pull all these different organizations together to interact with each other. I believe right now there is a major disconnect between these different agencies and different bodies. I think we need to come together to, one, just share information, but then two, create policy and procedure to help people. Part of the SRO's mandate is regarding homelessness. So I think we need to have the local homeless coordinating board, the shelter monitoring committee, and these different organizations to help people transition into the SROs and then transition to a higher and a better life. So we are just creating something that people just don't get stuck in these SROs forever. If you want, I can show you some of the. I had about 4 or 5 images of some of the SROs one of the SROs that I was in, and it was just problematic.
I think that's not necessary. I think the point here is for you to just let us know a little bit about yourself so we could make some decisions.
Okay. So.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you.
You has something to offer, and the fact that people are willing to serve the city is always greatly appreciated. So let me just sort of share my thoughts and see where others are. With respect to seat 1, which has to be held by someone who is a resident of an SRO, I certainly was very impressed with the presentation and support for Dan Jordan. Mr. Jordan.
Dan Jordan to seat 1. Nicolette Alexander to seat 9. Amelia Redberg to seat 4. Joshua Vinen to seat 5, and Angela Chu to seat 7. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Somebody want to make a motion?
So moved.
Okay, well, objection, motion passes. Thank you very much for coming here today. I have to go back to item number 4. There was a...
Yeah, the Central City SRO Collaborative always gets a seat.
All right. Yeah.
I would like to make a response to Jordan's comment about rent payment. The reason the THC makes people pay by money order is because so many personal checks are kind of rubbery.
So
applicants through each applicant and invite you to come up and speak for 3 minutes, starting with Christopher Micah.
Hello. Good morning. Moment. So, my name is Christopher Micah. I'm an SRO tenant and a resident of District 9, which is Supervisor Ronan's district near 16th and Mission. I'm here today to apply for seat 1 on the city's SRO task force. I'm proudly running as part of a queer SRO housing justice slate with Jordan Davis and Courtney Brown. I thank you for hearing me today. I moved to the Mission 23 years ago. I came to live in an SRO via homelessness. A few years ago, I suffered a traumatic brain injury in a fall, and as an eventual result of my injury and subsequent inability to function, I became unhoused. Being newly permanently disabled and being homeless was a nightmare. A significant part of that nightmarishness was the struggle to try and access housing and homelessness services and to just understand anything coherent about the services landscape. In the end, after initially being rejected, my case was picked up by the homeless outreach team. and I was placed in an SRO last July. So I first became interested in SRO residents' quality of life issues last year during the campfire when I lobbied my landlord to help the residents of our building, which was primarily composed of poor people who have chronic health issues. I wanted them to help. I wanted our residents to receive particulate masks so that they could breathe safely. My SRO building manager more or less laughed in my face. However, I was fortunately able to procure 100 masks via donation from a local organization. And I distributed them myself door to door to every person in my building. To me, this moment begged the question, how is this supportive housing? Obviously, SRO organizations who have multi-million-dollar contracts with the city can and must do better when it comes to caring for their residents. And I'd like to enable that. My other activist experience over the last 9 months includes volunteering with Q Foundation, doing work regarding LGBT housing equity and relatedly fighting for civil rights of our city's homelessness. I believe all LGBTQ people, especially the transgender community, deserve to feel safe, and that's why I'm glad that Supervisor Ronan has passed legislation making bathrooms and SROs safer for trans folks. Is my time out?
Yes, but if you want to conclude your thought, that's fine.
I beg your pardon?
If you want to conclude your thought, that's fine.
Well, yeah, I would be honored if you chose me for SRO task force.
Thank you so much. Any questions? No? Thank you so much. Thank you. Next, if we could hear from Randall Sloan.
I dare.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
My name's Randall Sloan. I won't take much of your time this morning, but I'd be honored to serve on the SRO task force. I've lived in an SRO for 6 years in Soma, and I've also, for the last 4 years, been associated with Central City SRO Collaborative, and that's an organization that advocates for SRO tenants in the Tenderloin and in Soma. We go in and build relationships with tenants and with landlords, and we help tenants have more.
Bullshit.
Because here we have Christopher Micah and Randall Sloan, both residents of SROs, one who's my constituent, and I just so deeply respect both of your expertise. The work that you do to advocate for your communities is absolutely extraordinary, and I could not commend you enough. And I wish that I could put you both on this body. And I would just say that I'm going to put a motion forward to move forward Randall Sloan to the position.
Public comment? Anything else?
Okay. So there's only 2 tenant representatives on the board, right? That's correct. And one of them is not here.
Yeah, I don't know why they're absent, but yeah. I'm not going to make any assumptions about them.
All right. I wouldn't make any assumptions. I just, I hate that. I think that's my comment. I like this whole board. There's like 1 tenant representative, and the other one that's supposed to be here is not here. It makes me feel, well, I think I felt this before, but like, you have this vote that I came here to, advocate for. And you only have 1 tenant person here. I feel like there should be more tenant representation on this board.
I agree.
To that comment,
And that was Christopher Micah, who unsuccessfully applied and was passed over. The tenant rep who's absent is, of course, Randall Sloan, who's connected with the Central City SRO Collaborative. As you can see, there's a pattern of picking people who are from the Central City SRO Collaboratives over more qualified and more community-based applicants. So there's a lot of fucking corruption here.
Okay, Randall Sloan, tenant representative, get that, Jordan, because you brought that up multiple times. That assessment and ask is all in your head right now. It is not on paper yet, and it needs to be on paper. There's too many bodies. There's tenants, there's landlords, there's the city for the budget, and it's
That was
all
R.J.
right
Sloan being
now.
rude to me.
Okay,
Hold on.
This
Let me ask something. Margot, you have
would people like to have the additional subsidy, the extra money? Absolutely, yes. No one.
Clifford Gilmore, SR Central City.
But they also sort of cautioning us about what would be unintended consequences. And so I asked them, so what does that look like? And, they said,
And yet
well,
you always get your
people
tenant leaders.
in my building having extra money, they don't have the financial means to balance or the acumen to have the extra money and to
The
know
fuck
exactly,
cares?
that to take care of the responsibilities, or would that become an issue? So I'm just saying, I don't know if we even explored unintended consequences, or if there are any in the future, then what happens is that be with the board or something. Because one of the things I think we have to consider is the real human living of our tenants in SRO hotels, and what the real realities and struggles and challenges that they have. And
You
so
get your
that
tenants.
being the case, have we addressed that part of it? And if we feel comfortable that we have, then fine. As I said, having extra means to live on is something that everybody needs. But I do think there's that other real life, ongoing life experience or challenges that I don't think can be folded into dollars and cents.
I have is related to the SRO collaborative. We've been receiving some critiques and emails of individuals, including SRO residents, who believe there's a problem, and I see the point that the SRO collaborative is meant to organize tenants so that tenants can be active participants in making sure they have habitable living environments. And oftentimes, the agency that runs the SRO collaborative is the landlord. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just wondering your response to that, if you think it's a problem. Let me be a little bit more specific. There's allegations, and I have no idea if these are true. These are emails and complaints that we're getting, that particularly the Central City Collaborative is hand-pinking organizers.
No shit.
So that they won't make complaints against the landlord of the organization that is the fiscal sponsor, or runs the SRO collaborative.
Yeah.
Have you received complaints like that, and how would you deal with them if you did? Yeah, I'm not. This is something I think we're going to have to look at as a city.
No shit.
Because especially given the really excellent Chronicle exposés on the living conditions in SROs throughout the city, but also there is an inherent conflict, of course, in the landlord of the building being the one that's supposed to organize the tenants to hold accountable the landlord of the building. Right. It's an issue. At the same time, I know many of the organizations did, for a long time, but I've never seen the inherent conflict be brought up as much as I have lately. So it's something that I do think we're gonna have to look into in terms of the design, and at the very least have a mechanism within DDI.
No, you have to uncouple them.
Receive complaints if